Welcome in everyone to the sixth video in my 12-part rookie profile series. Today, we're going back to the wide receiver position. We're going to be talking about my rookie wide receiver 2, my 1.06 in one quarterback leagues and 110 in superflex leagues, and that's TCU wide receiver Quentin Johnston. Now, looking at Johnston's college career, he came into TCU as a freshman in 2020 and immediately fought for the team's wide receiver 1 role, catching 22 passes for 487 yards and 2 touchdowns in 8 games during a shortened season from the pandemic. It wasn't a huge season statistically, but on a low volume offense as a freshman during the pandemic, this was a really good year, all things considered. He then followed that up with a really good sophomore season that was cut short due to injuries, catching 33 passes for 634 yards and 6 touchdowns in 8 games played. And that was enough, though, to lead TCU in receiving yards and touchdowns as a sophomore, and once again, another really low volume passing offense. It wasn't until 2022 that we saw really the statistical breakout from Quentin Johnston, hauling in 60 catches for over 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns as TCU went from a 5-7 team in 2021 to the college football championship game in 2022. This was the season that we needed to see from Johnston to warrant the hype and meet the expectations that we had for him coming into the 2022 season to make him a solidified top 3 rookie wide receiver. For some of you out there, your rookie wide receiver 1 this year. So moving over to the analytics, let me remind you of my 16 marker system for evaluating wide receiver prospects, which is just a series of baselines that I want players to hit based on what previously successful players in the NFL had coming out of college. I did go more in depth in my Jackson Smith and Jigba video on these markers and this system. So if you missed that and you want to check it out, the link is right up here, somewhere up above here. And also for reference, JSN is my wide receiver 1 and will end at 8 out of 16 markers after the NFL draft. But because he didn't play last year, he could be closer to 11 out of 16 markers, depending on if you want to give him the benefit of doubt for not playing. Before continuing though, I wanted to mention that if you like this content and want to support what we're doing on this channel, please consider joining our YouTube memberships where you will gain access to additional videos every single month, including a bank of 7 videos that you can watch already. Plus, we will be starting exclusive live streams when we have enough members, and I just posted a link to a Google Sheet that houses all of the data that I'm looking at for my marker system, everything that you want for running backs and wide receivers. It's all in that Google Sheet. So if you want access to all of that, check out the link in the description down below, join the bonus content tier, and thank you guys for checking it out. Looking at Johnston in this system, he is currently sitting at 7 out of 16 markers and will go to 8 out of 16 when he is drafted in the 1st or 2nd round. The only 2 markers that we're still missing are 40 time and speed score, since he didn't run at the combine. Now, I am recording this prior to TCU's pro day, but if Johnston runs a sub 4.51, then he will hit both of those markers as well and get up to 10 out of 16 when it's all said and done, which I do expect he will do based on his tape and his overall athleticism numbers. Now, 10 out of 16 markers, sadly, is actually enough to be graded as the top wide receiver in this class this year using this marker system. And the reason I say sadly is because since 2000, that is the 2nd lowest total for the top graded receiver in a wide receiver class. The lowest, actually, coincidentally, is back in 2013, with DeAndre Hopkins being graded at 9 out of 16 markers. And DeAndre Hopkins is a popular comp for Quentin Johnston coming out of college. But this leads me on a small tangent here that this wide receiver class is just, it's not good at all. Not only is there no Jamar Chase, no CeeDee Lamb, no Amari Cooper level prospect in this class, but there really isn't even like a Treylon Burks or a Rashad Bateman level prospect in here either. It's all really just a mess of receivers with multiple different issues, from like college production to size to just overall athleticism. And I think all of those issues and this just poor class in general is going to translate into the NFL draft. Going back to that 2013 class, only 6 receivers were drafted in the first 2 rounds that year, which is the lowest number in the past decade and the 2nd lowest number since 2007. That season also had a weird mixed bag of players, from the questionably productive but big-bodied and highly athletic Cordell Patterson to the extremely athletic, very productive, but also very tiny Tavon Austin, or the solidly productive with okay athleticism on his slender, low BMI frame, Justin Hunter. I'm sure just by describing those players in that way, you've already thought of who the 2023 versions of those guys are. The 3 players who did hit from the 2013 class were DeAndre Hopkins, Robert Woods, and Keenan Allen, who fell to the 3rd round in that draft. Woods and Keenan are very similar prospects just overall, and Keenan has been a popular comp for Jackson Smith and Jigba, so that one checks out. And then Hopkins, like I just said, has been a popular comp for Quentin Johnston. So I guess that one checks out too for the top 2 receivers in this class. But overall though, my entire stance on this receiver class this year has really just been Jackson Smith-Njigba or bust. I want to do whatever I can to go from Jordan Addison, Quentin Johnston, Zay Flowers, Jalen Hyatt, etc., and just move up to go get Jackson Smith-Njigba. I honestly don't even like that I have Johnston as my rookie wide receiver too, but I don't even know who else to put here. I guess Addison is probably the more likely choice, but their profiles are very similar production-wise. They both have the same 20 and 30% breakout ages, both have the same best season for market share of receiving yards. Johnston does have a leg up on yards per team pass attempt, but Jordan Addison also has just gaudier numbers in general and wins in fantasy points per game. The main separator for me between the two is size and athleticism. There are no concerns about Johnston's size. He's one of actually the few players in this class who have prototypical X receiver size, and he has the speed and athleticism behind that size as well. But I just don't like having Johnston as my wide receiver too. I don't see the comps for DeAndre Hopkins or T. Higgins or AJ Green that are very commonly just thrown out there. What I see in Quentin Johnston is Brashad Perriman, who was 6'2", 212, very similar age-adjusted production and team-adjusted production because he was also on a low-volume passing offense at UCF. And then you turn on the film, you see a big-bodied receiver who probably relies a little too much on his size and athleticism, but strangely enough, doesn't really play at his size. He plays a little bit lower than that size. We see a raw route runner and someone who struggles with focus drops and consistent hands. And guess what? That's the exact same thing that you see when you look at Quentin Johnston tape. The highlights look great. It's the size, the speed, the athleticism, the yak ability, all of it. You see all of that with Quentin Johnston. But when you really dig down into it, you see the drop issue. You see him playing down from his size. You see inconsistencies on a play-to-play basis that are just maddening to watch because you just saw a highlight reel play just moments before, and then you know that he can do anything that he wants to on the field, but he just doesn't do it all the time consistently. We know how Perriman's story ended after being a late first-round pick in 2015. He just never really found it in the NFL. He was on 5 teams in 7 years and a bust for anybody who drafted him in Dynasty that year. And that's my same fear with Quentin Johnston, is a very similar career path of mediocrity and nothingness for an expensive mid-first-round price in your rookie drafts. Like I said, I don't like putting him up here, but I feel like I have to because if he does hit, he has the highest ceiling in this entire draft class, has the potential to be DeAndre Hopkins or be Devontae Adams, a ceiling that Jordan Addison or Jalen Hyatt or Zay Flowers just can't match, with a floor that's really kind of just equal to all of them. But at the end of the day, I'm probably never going to actually draft Quentin Johnston in any of my rookie drafts because I don't feel comfortable doing so. I want to add something to this pick to go get Jackson Smith-Njigba, go get Jahmyr Gibbs or a quarterback in superflex. And if I can't do that, then I'm trading back. Maybe I can get 2 rookie wide receivers instead of 1, give myself more chances to actually hit on a guy, or trade back, grab one of those rookie tight ends for that kind of a home run swing that one of them actually hits and is an advantage for you in your dynasty lineup, or just trade out entirely for a veteran or re-roll the dice in the 2024 class. So Quentin Johnston, yeah, is my rookie wide receiver 2 this year. I don't really like it. It's just, this is kind of where we're at this year. But if you found this video first and you missed my profile on my 1.05 and RB4 in this class, Zach Charbonnet, and why I think he's actually the player that most people are going to want the most in the mid-first this year, then you can watch that video right up here.